Hey y'all, what's going on? It's your girl My Desire. Welcome back to Baco Belt Media, and I have with me the one and only Jamal and Shima. Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Hey.
Good, good, good.
All right, y'all. This is episode 5, titled White Knight. This is a very heavy episode, so let's just dive right in. We got, of course, the one and only Mississippi. You know, she's at the strip club and she's getting ready to take the stage, and she's looking at all the wigs because she wants to, basically have a wig line. She puts on the blonde wig. Not really a fan, but that's we have a glimpse of Rome in this moment where he's very mean towards her, right? He's basically telling her like, you're gonna get this money when she's really thinking about going back home to her family. What were your thoughts in seeing Rome? I don't know if I've ever seen him in this kind of space before. Maybe I just missed it, but what did you initially think about his attitude in that particular scene? Y'all start with you, Jamal. Go ahead.
It was almost like a pimp with
Mm,
with one of his hoes, to be honest with you, because it's like I done invested all this money in you. You go and do this. You know what I'm saying? It's like you going. There could have been a easier, nicer way to roll it off, but he chose to be more aggressive to get his point across. Like, listen, you owe me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't asking you to, get blood from a turnip, but just do this one thing, showcase his wig, get out of that same base to what he considers basic shit for
mm-hmm.
what you've been doing and try some new hot shit. It's like he's almost. The first thing that popped into my mind when watching that dialogue between them two was pimp and whore, honestly. And I did not like it. It left a nasty taste in my mouth. He already is not one of my favorite people in the show as it is.
Right.
So it's just like we're starting to see his true colors come out because
Mm-hmm.
we've seen him in that capacity with the men, but we've never seen him with her
Right.
because as we see later, why?
Right. Shima, your thoughts?
So I actually disagree with that because it was at first when he was speaking to Mississippi, I thought it was going left. I was like, okay, this is gonna go left. He's about to be on some real abusive shit. But then he was like, we gonna keep doing this so that you don't have to go back for good. That's when he flipped me. So he flipped me from thinking, okay. At first I was like, okay, this seems to be going down an abusive route. And then he was like, we're gonna make sure you don't ever have to go back to that. So then I was like, okay, maybe he was just kind of being encouraging at that moment. Like, we don't want you to go back to what you're used to. So we're trying to make this money so that you don't ever have to go back. So I kind of overlooked. That's why it caught me by surprise later on because I overlooked the first part of it where he was getting up on her kind of scary with the wig on, and then he said something else which kind of threw me off from what I thought he was going to originally say because it was like I thought he was going to be like, "Nah, we doing this," because like you said, it kind of could be taken that way if he didn't say the follow up, like because we don't want you to go back to basically your abusive situation, which that's how I took it.
I,
So
yeah, I can
yeah,
see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
'cause that's what he said. I mean, that's what he said, and the way he said it was kind of like, yeah, we're not doing that again. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it was just his tone that just kind of threw me off. Even,
Hmm.
sometimes when you're saying something, it's like, it just was weird. Like you said, we seen him do it with the men before, but we thought that he had a different dynamic with Keyshawn. So it was a little weird when that tone came out and he was kind of like, rough and abrasive. But, obviously we kind of keep going in this episode, and we see the special guest, Jocelyn, and what were your thoughts on like her coming out? Of course, doing the most per usual, nothing that we wouldn't have expected. How did you feel about that, Shima?
I felt like, I mean, it was good to see Jocelyn in her element, but in a different position in her life. So it was like she still is being her sexy self. But now she's actually a featured character in a major hit TV show. So that was great to see her um in that light. She seemed like she was acting like herself. So it was good to see her and Gigi McGuire and the other girls, Miami Tip. Um, I do like that they're featuring authentic people from the lifestyle because that really matters You get what I'm saying? As
Mhm.
far as representation as well. Because these are some real entertainers, like getting up there and dancing, and that's not easy work. Like that's not easy work. So it was great seeing um her get ushered in by the OGs.
Jamal.
I thought it was, as you say, she came in doing the most, but when have we not known Jocelyn to do the most? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? She's all When we first met her, she introduced herself to as being extra. So of course we're always going to get extra from her. As you can even see with the reaction from Big Teak, oh, she's flying. Like the audience is like mesmerized by her presence. You know what I'm saying? So she has that showmanship, that showgirl personality into her, and I loved how she came in because it was just like, the night was dedicated to Mississippi, so she was like, I'm gonna give you a little bit, but not too much, because y'all know what I can do, but I'm putting on, I'm as we were saying offline, she's passing that baton, giving her flowers and letting her know, this is the next bad bitch coming up. Y'all make
Right.
sure y'all look out for her because this is the one that y'all gonna want to see. This is the crowd pleaser, and it was just a full circle moment because, like Shima was saying, the authentic show of these women who are in this industry, who are famously known not just by being beautiful, but that work that they do is real work. You know what I'm saying? Them girls get up there. It ain't for the faint at heart. Hell, have you ever taken pole dancing classes? Because I have, and let me tell you
Yes,
something. That
I
little
actually
flip up,
get it and do a little something, something.
man, that ain't child's play, okay? So
Yeah,
that is real athleticism them ladies are doing,
mhm.
and I applaud them because they get my money every time I step up in the club. So I appreciate them for being authentic to the
Jamal,
game.
Jamal said he just go to the ATM and just take out the maximum amount and just go up in there.
Listen, I dropped 160 on my birthday one year at Stadium in VIP, and I'm like, I don't even like women, but y'all are doing this.
The talent. Yeah.
Like I was just like the girl last
I'm like,
episode.
it's
Take my
there.
money. Take my
Yeah,
money.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, she was
Yeah.
funny. So, of course, we always gotta have a little funny moment, right? And we get our funny moment when we see, I guess, Big Teak and Lil Murder having the little spat, right? And who is that that comes in? Who is that that comes up and asks them if they arguing? Was that Robe or was that Wody?
I think it was wrong. No, I think it was Wody
I think
because
it
I
was
think
Wody.
because I think Rome was already sitting down there because he was like, "Why couldn't I have my night?" And he was like,
Right.
"This about Mississippi tonight."
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So of course they got their little spat going. I mean, listen, Big Teak and Little Murder, the way that they've written these episodes and they've written this storyline, this relationship is very interesting to me. I like the dynamic and how it's played because it's authentic and it's real. You know what I mean? I just feel like it gives us a little bit of insight of just how things can be, no matter the I guess like I'm losing my train of thought here. No matter the type of relationship you have with somebody, you know what
Exactly.
I mean. So, did you enjoy that scene? Like, what did you think about it, Jamal? You so funny.
So it cracks me up because it really is art imitating life. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, that's another thing that I love about this show being so authentic to the culture. You know what I'm saying? We've seen it be authentic to the strip club culture. We've seen it be authentic to the pimp life and the hustling and all of that. But you see it be authentic in love life and relationships as well. Whether it be the DL situation that you got
Mm-hmm.
your DL guy dealing with the highly flamboyant character as Lil Murder was with
Well,
Uncle
Clifford.
Clifford, to now him dealing with another DL guy, and how their personalities are clashing because you would a lot of I don't think society expects same sex relationships to go through the same drama as relationships of the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
And for that to be showcased, it cracked me up because even we see that it goes on not just in the club, but it spills out to even when they're in the room.
Got to.
And yo, that part right there, I don't know if you want me to go there yet, so I'm gonna just shush.
Are you gonna
But
hold it? Okay.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
gonna hold it because that part was hilarious too.
Okay. Okay. Shima.
So I wrote down Big T always big mad. Big
Oh,
mad. And it is sad that we don't humanize like same sex relationships. I'm part of the queer community. It's like, what do y'all expect? Like, we get in arguments, we have, jealousy issues, all kind of the typical issues that you have in any relationship. So it's just
mhm.
like it is kind of like, I'm glad that you guys are showing this, but it is also surprising to me that other people don't get it or are now getting it. Like, oh wow, I didn't know you guys act like normal people in normal relationships. Like, yeah, like we're normal. But I
Mhm.
said Big T always big mad and he needs some big dick. And that's what I wrote down. Like, you need
And
to
there you
get
have it,
you
folks.
you need to get your life. Like, but I mean, I feel Big T too sometimes because it's like he's not fully reformed. I'm like, why they keep playing with this man like he's fully reformed? He's not. He's not even halfway or partially reformed because Jill don't reform you. And so,
Hello.
like, he's not all there. Yet Rome always got. I was for sure thinking that Rome had it coming. He had it coming. If he just had one more episode and he had it coming. Um, and then I don't like the way they talk, the way Rome talks down on T. Like, I'm like, he has several screw loops. Why you gonna keep talking down on this man? Like, don't every time he talk down on him, I'm like, I'm afraid for your life. Like, you know what I mean? Because at
I
this
don't see
point,
how he's not afraid for his own life at this
right, I'm
point
like,
because
I'm
he's
afraid
really
for
been
your life.
trying
You
it.
don't care enough to be afraid
Mhm.
for your own life. But yeah, it was giving Big T big mad, and I was confused too because I was like, I thought once he saw what he saw, he was moving on. You get what I'm saying? I didn't really expect him to see him in this episode. If
But
I'm
we
being
never do that though. Like we never see something
Listen,
that somebody did to us that we
right,
love
he
and
walked
care
out.
for.
He had his workout bag
Not
on
his
his way
working
out
bed.
the door. So I thought he was never coming back. I said, oh, they had to figure out a way to eliminate him, but he he was there,
He's
and
here.
it resembles a relationship. Like,
like shit.
we thought you was gone, and now
Now
you're
you're back.
back.
You know what? Now that you mention that, I have to agree. I did, like think he was leaving the tour to go back home after the
Where
way
was
he
he
left
going? Where
out.
was he finna go though?
That, but that's where I stopped thinking that because I'm like, well, how the hell he gonna get back? It's not like he got any money.
Right.
They drive it in, they ride around in Bodie's hearse.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
how he gonna get back home? But that's a good ass point. But I think you made another good point about Big T just being released and not being reformed, and not only to mention him just being released from quote unquote being reformed, he's being released into a environment now that is so how can I put this?
It's the pandemic.
Dis-
Unhealthy.
well, no, not even just the pandemic. I'm talking about as far as all the social injustice that's going on.
Yes,
It's chaos.
unhealthy.
It's chaotic.
Yeah.
It's chaos, and you got to understand he's coming from an environment that was already chaotic, and now it's like, well, shit. I already had this in jail. Now I'm coming out a free man, and I'm still dealing with this, but even on a different
Level.
scale because it's everybody, and Teak is coming out hypersensitive, where Rome has been so desensitized by the way of his own thinking
Right.
because he has that colonizer influence way of thinking.
Mentality. Yeah.
Yeah,
As I said, um he's a coon.
Yeah.
You
I
know what I'm
was about
saying?
to say your favorite
and
C word.
He's a coon,
coming
and that's
out
the best way I can say it.
and T is coming out traumatized, not so much hypersensitive, but traumatized. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
racism doesn't stop when you get locked up.
Well, no, I mean when I say hypersensitive, I mean like he's hypersensitive to being hyper aware of all the injustice that's going to go
Exactly.
around. Not so
Exactly.
much as that he's hypersensitive because he just left jail. He just
Right.
hyper aware because
Right.
he
Super
knows what's going
scared.
on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that translates, of course, from coming from the last episode, because we saw his moment, his big moment, essentially, where he's showcasing emotions and feelings, like you said, that Rome don't really have. And so,
Mhm.
meanwhile, he's still trying to deal with them, trying to find his place, and, navigating a space that he's new to, so I think it was interesting how they played that scene. I liked it. It's probably one of my favorite scenes of the episode. And so of course I think this is where we start. As we know in this episode, Uncle Clifford is also narrating, and
Mhm.
it was a little Clifford Angelo-ish, right? Clifford Maya Angelou. The voice behind it was very much like it. So, but I love the narration about Uncle Clifford, and we have this going back situation where now, well, before we get there, we have, I'm gonna call her Auntie Jocelyn. Basically linking up with Keyshawn upstairs. Um, basically, like giving her props. And Keyshawn is like, should I bow? And she's like, if you want to.
Bitch, if you won't.
I mean, but this is your moment. This is your night. Why would you be bowing to me? So that
Mhm.
we see that dynamic kind of play out. What were your like initial thoughts on it? And at this point we could just, like toss the questions and just have a conversation. So like just how you felt about that, and what did you get from that scene, Shima?
Well, there were so many, like, there were so many pertinent things happening that was not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love to see her coming in on the flying horse with the money out, but I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like that, I really didn't think too much about her coming to give Keyshawn props. I thought that that's what she was doing when when
No,
she
I'm talking
came in.
about when she meets Keyshawn upstairs, like, and they had that exchange, and she's like, should I? And she got the money gun, and Keyshawn is like, should I bounce? She's like, no, this night is about you. She's talking
Yeah,
to her.
I thought that that was a cool point, but it didn't really stand out for me that much. That
Okay,
particular point.
okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Mom?
I think it was a pivotal moment because you can kind of see Jocelyn can tell this girl is like a deer in headlights.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's not focused. She's too caught up in the hype of the celebrity of it all, not necessarily paying attention. And I get it because it's like when you see your idols, of course you get caught up. Of course you get, a little starstruck.
Mm-hmm.
But for her to take the time out to pull her to the side to have a moment, like all four of them have that moment with her because these are the ones who started it and look at where they are. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like pay attention. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That's why she I believe she actually does snap at
Yeah,
her in her
I
face
did.
too,
She did do that. Mm-hmm.
and because she's like glossed over, and you could hit it from when she first came in the VIP section. She says, make sure you pick up them hundreds.
Right.
Like the hustle is just because we having fun, the hustle doesn't stop. You know what I'm saying? Stay on your hustle. And I
Right.
think Jocelyn was dropping gems that she just wasn't picking up and placing on, placing in the brackets.
Right.
And I think once Keyshawn gets I hope that she keeps some of what Jocelyn told her, even though she's caught up
Right.
in the back of her mind, because that kind of like will help her navigate throughout the course of her life and what she's trying to do with her career to become bigger and better than what she knows as of right now. Because
Right.
even though she's doing a good job, there's more that she could be doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was like her, like you said, giving her gems, but also like just also reminding her of her worth. Like that's the main thing that
Mm-hmm.
I got out of that scene was just like, yeah, like nah, like you can bow to me, but I'm here to uplift you. Like I'm here to get you where you need to go. I'm giving you what you need in this moment. So like don't forget why you're here, or like what even got you here for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty dope just to see the interaction between two women who obviously have made their way and are strong, and pretty much like changing the game essentially. So then of course, we got this little flashback going on. And for me, this, we've reviewed a lot of shows. And so flashbacks are very important in episodes, but they have to be done well. And in
Mm-hmm.
this episode, it was done very seamlessly. Like you didn't feel like you were too caught off or too lost. And so I really enjoyed like how they did this episode. So our first flashback we have is with Keyshawn at cheer practice, right? She's up there, she's stiff as a board, and she falls. And who do we see glimmering out from the sunshine, right? Derek. And he's like, do you need some help? You should try again. And she's like, no, I'm good. And so she steps aside, and the chair coach calls over her stepsister, right? Who we don't realize is her stepsister in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes over and she does her thing, and they go about their business. But then Keyshawn is sitting on the bench, and these football players try to talk to her, and one of the guys makes a comment that he says like, "You need to stay out that sun because you burnt anyway," right? And Derek comes over and he says like, why don't you just leave her alone? And here we go, fight scene, right? It's like Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
What were your initial? I guess in this scene, were you expecting that? Were you expecting it to escalate so quickly when you first saw the scene? Essentially, Shima.
Yeah, because knowing what I know about him now, from previous episodes, I felt like he didn't just become a ticking time bomb. Now I didn't know that he was going to win the fight,
That
but
part.
I wasn't surprised to see that he did. And it was interesting also the colorism dynamic as well, because I've experienced that, and I know that a lot of black young girls have experienced that and are experiencing that. Like when you don't give a guy the time of day or your attention, then you become an ugly bitch, or you become just ugly, or they start shaming you, and oh, you can't dress, or oh, you too dark, and stuff like that. And so it was interesting. It was interesting to see that kind of be the origin of their love story, because he essentially was taking up for her, and I don't even know if he knew at the time how big of a moment that was, because they were teasing her, and not just teasing her like, real petty stuff, but like actually going in on her, her skin color, and just saying some really mean and nasty things. And so, yeah, I mean, we got to see where his, you know, we got to see Keyshawn see that he could be violent, or he can get violent as well. So it was just a moment um, that I felt like, oh wow, like she's seen him be violent before, but just not to her.
What about you, Jamal?
You know, the scene, I was just like, okay. Here come this, buttered colored Satan coming to save this Nubian queen. But I'll say this: she kind of has that. I'm sorry, I keep looking up. I be looking up to find my words. She kind of already is kind of like in awe of him, because as you can see, like, how like in movies and TV shows and stuff like that, whenever someone sees someone who like captivates them, it's always like a bright light in their eyes, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God!" It's like they're glowing, and it's
Right.
like we get that sense of feel when she first sees Derek when he's helping her up. And he notices the defeatist persona that she's putting on as she sits in pretty much on the sideline watching everything go down at while they're trying out. But as Shima said, I have been around females and guys when they're trying to talk to a female and get rejected, and then the first thing is you ugly black bitch, or something like this, something derogatory that's always going to their skin color.
Right.
And I think that is weak. I think it's ridiculous. And I'm like, I applaud Derek for how he took the necessity to feel like to stand up for her, because he didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? But I guess because he too was captivated by Keyshawn, he was just like, you ain't gotta talk to her like that. You know what I'm saying? Like just
Right.
chill out. And then you could see him try like stand his ground, and then the dude say something. He's like, "No, I'm not even going to entertain it." But then he spits on your man. Now Derek ain't my favorite folk, but
You spit on anybody.
you spit on me, get the bail money ready.
For
That's all I'm saying. And the fact that we see him take out not one, not two, but three
three
big burly men,
football.
they be in the gym,
Right.
those type of guys. See him take them out with ease. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Barely with a barely walk. I mean, walk off barely with a scratch on his face or whatever. To me, I don't think she got a sense of how he could be violent. I think she got a sense of he can be a protector, and how
Mm-hmm.
he was honoring her in that moment by taking it up for her. But it's just it was all right. But I will say this though, for anybody who's watching, men, it is your duty to hold your men accountable when they do stuff like that, because them women that say no, they wasn't those ugly black bitches and all of that
Mm-hmm.
when you was trying to get their attention. They only became that when you got turned down.
Yeah, when you got
So
rejected.
when you see your man do that, check him, because that shit is whack. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say that, and we can
Yeah,
keep it
and then
pushing.
when you are stepping in, when you see another man, if you're a man stepping in on another man, make sure you're not doing that based on your ego. Make sure
Exactly.
you're doing that because you want to stick up and you want to take care of women, but don't be doing that to turn around and then be a wrong.
There you go. Come, we gonna
Yeah.
get there. We gonna get there.
Let
But
it be
you said it.
authentic. Yeah, yeah. No, I feel you. I agree. I
Mm-hmm.
think that, I think that her seeing Derek fight for her was like, oh, okay, so somebody cares enough about me to like protect me in this moment that because who knows how that could have went, right? Because he could have tried to lash out. Old boy could have tried to lash out at her, but Derek, like I said, Derek handled it, and like you said, not one but two but three. And I think that as we progress in the episode, um, we see how what we thought was Derek, and then we get to like no Derek. You know what I mean? Um, so as we keep going, through the episode and whatnot, one of my things is as we transitioning back and forth, you see uh, Mississippi kind of like having these moments to herself where she's figuring it out, where she's having these thoughts, right? What direction do you think that we're going in as far as like when now that we're getting to know Derek? Like, do you think this is done in a way where they want us to sympathize or empathize with Derek, or do you think that they're presenting it in a way where it's just like we want you to get the full picture essentially, and that's just kind of like a side effect of it?
Um, I think there is that aspect of sympathy for, I won't
Derek.
say for Derek, but I will say for their situation. Because
Mm,
you do see the origin of it, you know what I'm saying? You understand a little bit where it comes from. But at the same time, it's just like, for me, the way that I interpreted it, the signs were around. She just never picked up on them.
right.
You know, when they go out to the diner and they're sitting at the counter. They're not sitting at a booth, they're sitting at a counter. So anybody walks in and see two people at a counter, they could be complete strangers that just so happen to be sitting next to each other. We don't know
Mm-hmm.
that they're together as if we would if they were in a booth. So I think it's very telling to show how Derek is willing to claim her and acknowledge his interest and where he wants to go with Keyshawn. But I didn't sympathize for Derek at all. I sympathize slightly for the origin because it is heart wrenching to see. But I think it was clever how they played it out. I will
Mm-hmm.
say that.
Yeah. She made your thoughts.
No, I feel like if they wanted us to sympathize with him, they would have showed the actions being taken on him. So we
Mm-hmm.
only saw like a bruise, or you know what I mean, like him being tense. We didn't really see the abuse happening. So we didn't really know like what all was going on because he was
Right.
big. And I know we said, oh, it was shocking to see him take on three football players, but I wasn't that shocked. The only reason why I thought he was going to lose is because I felt like they were going to write his character to lose. But cheerleaders, especially sabotters, they're some of the strongest people. Like you got people that's lifting weights and then you have people that's lifting people. That takes a whole nother strength ability. And so I was kind of like, oh, he gets hit at home, but I was like, I don't know. White people fight their parents back. So I don't know. He might be in there tussling with his dad. You get what I'm saying? Because he was big. He was a big high schooler. Um, but yeah, I didn't feel bad for him. I felt like during his interaction with um, Mississippi and the background of certain things happening, I felt like now it wouldn't be such a shocker for you to understand. So it should have never been that much of a shocker when Diamond told you that he called him the N word. Because we get to see a little bit of his background, which is his mom is not with it. Then he turns on Keyshawn during her pregnancy. So it's just like I felt like, you know what I mean? We got to kind of see his subconscious racism
Play out.
play
Well,
out.
okay. So we basically we so the lineup is that we do get a very long window into their lives, right? We get to see them after the fight, right? They link up in the hallway, and that's also some racism right there because she's like, so did they get in trouble? And he
Mm-hmm.
says,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like they got suspended essentially, so they couldn't play in the homecoming game, right? But he didn't get in trouble at all. So we've seen
Yeah.
that dynamic play out before. So of
Mhm.
course Jamal brings up the diner situation, and she asked him, would you take me on a date here? And he says, no, I would take you. I don't remember what he said,
Somewhere
but
special, he said.
Somewhere,
yeah,
yeah,
right.
he just said somewhere special.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and and then we get to see. Let's not forget that we get to see Pastor Woodbine's character because Shorty was a waitress. Okay,
And she was
okay,
fine.
she was waiting
She was
tables,
good. She
and
was,
and
She
I
looked
don't know what
alright.
happened.
That
she
top
looked good
ramen
in her
wig,
waitress outfit and her
not
makeup.
not that top ramen wig, that
Not the top
Oriental flavor,
ramen.
that soy
Oh
sauce
Lord.
flavor wig,
It
that
was
teriyaki
it,
chicken
it,
wig flavor.
it was laid that day.
No,
It was laid that day.
that wet and wavy yaki. No, I'm
Uh-uh.
not
That was.
having it.
Well, I mean, I thought that was interesting. We got to see Pastor
I'm just
Woodbine.
joking.
We get to see her like not as Pastor Woodbine, just as regular as Patrice.
In her essence.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting touch on the episode, just because I wasn't expecting it. Like nobody figured that she was gonna pull up to the pancake spot, or the diner, and it was finna be Patrice Woodbine, serving
All
tables.
that money she was stealing from Mercedes, you thought she didn't have a 9 to 5?
Well, well, this
She
is
had to make
before.
some type of money.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, before she would start stealing from her daughter, I guess she did. But I
Yeah,
mean, I
she
just felt like she
did.
was. I don't know. I assume she was maybe like a finance man. Listen. I
Yeah,
had
like
high
something
hopes
that
for
more
her.
professional.
Yeah, I just
Not
didn't.
more professional. Oh, the waitresses gonna eat y'all up.
I mean, listen. I used to be a waitress, and I love waitresses. But I'm saying, based on the character that they wrote us, we did not for sure see that she was gonna be no daggone waitress. I thought Shorty was gonna
She
be
was
working,
gonna,
working in the bank. You know what I'm
what we
saying?
knew was she was
Thank you.
she was gonna be a hustler wherever she was, and that's what she was. She was
Girl,
That that
hustling at the pancake house.
you right, and it's no shade to anybody who works in food services because my first job was food
I
services as
love my
well.
service
I'm just
people.
saying, I'm just saying, I thought she would have been in a more Fortune 500 or something, or something suit and tie esque
yeah.
of a job, is what
This
I'm
is also
saying.
true what you
Because
You
said.
know,
We don't know what the job situation was looking like down there in them
she
times.
could have
So
worked at Enterprise,
she
but yeah,
listen, not Enterprise though. Okay, Enterprise. Yeah. So of course we have that happening, and um, so now we get into a little bit more background on Keyshawn's life. Right, we take a turn and we go home. And we see her having this interaction with her stepmom, and she's like, taking care of you girls is so hard. Trying to keep up with two girls and two schedules. She was like, three. You got three girls, right? And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I'm still trying to get used to that number. Meanwhile, Keyshawn is doing one of the sisters' hair and burns off the ponytail. Um,
Child.
Now, listen, I definitely have burnt my hair, and even me doing it to myself was still outlandish and outrageous. So I can only imagine how, it was looking that somebody else did it. But we have this dynamic where you see the girls kind of like they don't treat Mississippi bad. Like they don't say much of anything, but their mom is pretty much like, I don't know why you here, I don't know, what you doing, and burnt off my baby's hair. I thought it was very interesting that she says specifically, you took away my baby's beauty,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, there's so many women who feel like their hair is their beauty. So if they lose their hair or something happens, it's like it we it fans out. I'm gonna just throw it to you, Jamal, because like I said, we just have the conversation around everything. Um, that scene, like
I,
It having family roots in the South, I've heard the stories. I don't see it anymore
mhm,
because number one, I ain't going down south that much. But my family not set up like that anyway within itself. But I've heard the stories. You know what I'm saying? And oddly enough, it was vice versa. The darker family members were nicer to those that were dark like them and treated the lighter ones like they wasn't nothing. But I ain't gonna go too deep in it. But that scene for me, it was like a play on um Cinderella and the Wicked Stepmother, except for we didn't have the Wicked Stepsisters as well. You know what I'm saying? They gave Keyshawn some grace. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially the one that was older. She just like looked out for her because I guess she had a bond with her that she might not have necessarily had with her sister because her sister might have been annoying to her. And I don't know, maybe she might have thought Keyshawn was beautiful being a dark chocolate girl because let's not forget, Keyshawn is gorgeous.
right,
Okay. But in the South, I know most cities and towns in the South are very color struck. So they do see the lighter the skin, the more beautiful, the longer the hair is beauty. And, to a lot of them, your hair is your crown and glory. I just think that it's so shallow and it showed just how shallow, especially in certain times, because you got to think of it by being a throwback, a flashback, Jesus, a flashback. That is, I don't know how, well, they ain't that much far back, but there was a certain time in entertainment. All you were seeing was your lighter skinned black girls. You wasn't seeing dark. So it's just like they were kind of pushing something that was already a issue, and it still is an issue to this day. Um, but I think it that stepmother just rubbed me the wrong way because you could almost see the disgust in
her
her
face,
face
yeah,
even before shit hit left. Shit
yeah,
went left. So it's just the hate was already there. It just hadn't been exposed.
right. I agree, Shima.
I guess we just get to see her always be treated less than.
Mhm.
Because like the mom said, my two daughters, and then she said it's three. It's three, not two. Um, and I just felt like we got to see colorism along with, because I feel like people don't, when they think of colorism, they don't think of texturism, they don't think of featureism, but all of that plays a part and all of that affects Mississippi. Because
Mhm.
even though it's like people would say, oh, she's pretty for a Dawson girl based on her features. And
Right.
even when she said, when she accidentally burnt her sister's hair and her sister was like kind of willing to accept it, and then the mom says the one thing that makes her look beautiful or whatever the case is, and it's just like Keyshawn is like, she can wear a wig like me, which is where the texturism comes into play. Oh, she don't need to wear a wig like you. Like
Mm-hmm.
basically, she ain't got that nappy hair like you do. Like she ain't bald headed like you do. You get what I'm saying? Because a lot of times the feature of long hair, people associate that with the lighter your skin is or the less oily your hair is. And so it
Mm-hmm.
was interesting to see the heavy roots of colorism and texturism be planted by her stepmother. And then it was weird to also see her dad come into the game, like whenever, at whatever time, to take pictures. And he seems to be a creep as well. But
Yeah.
I guess we'll roll into that. But
Yeah.
I mean,
So
we're just having a conversation, so we can roll into that. But did y'all peep when he pulled her sister closer to him and was like had his hand on her waist, and it was kind of like it was a sexual thing? Did you see that?
It was
yeah.
very Chester child molester.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Definitely.
it was throwing me for a loop. It was scary. Actually, it was scary to see that because
It
I
was
was
a very interesting twist for sure because I don't think any of us saw that. But we have the fight that happens previously to that, right? Well, we talk the girls are at school also, and they're talking about the dances and how the sister has turned down everybody, and there's two different dances to go to, like the white ball and the black ball. That's what I'm gonna call them because I don't remember the
Mm-hmm.
names.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, one is gonna be a fun time, and the other one is gonna be a stiff time. So
Pretentious.
right,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So of course, now we have the girls getting ready because they obviously have dates and they're both going to the black ball. Not to mention that the sister that Keyshawn burnt the hair off turned out and finessed that short little
I love
That
hairstyle.
her look.
motherfucker.
It was
I
a
That
loved it.
she had that Miss Auntie wig on.
She
it was
definitely
a
did.
really nice mullet. I really liked that style on her. I really did.
It fit her face really
I was
good.
like, she was eating that style up. Like I was just like, this mullet is eating the girls up. Like it looked
It
good.
was roulette.
It was a little roulette. Yeah,
It
yeah.
was roulette hair in a different color. That's
It
all.
was. It was. I didn't even think about that. That's so
Oh,
interesting.
was it?
Yeah,
It looked
yeah,
like that to me. It looked like
Oh,
that to me.
they
yeah.
swapped their wigs.
They
Okay.
swapping rings, but yeah. So of course the girls get ready. They come downstairs, um, and they dash show up. I want to say like no, that's not. No, let me go back for a second, real quick, because the fight happens before this,
Yes.
and basically they're getting ready for Christmas. It looked like, and the mom says, when is the dad coming back or something or the other, and the girls are asking about love, about relationships, and they ask, well, how did you meet, dad essentially, and she's like, oh, I bought him a drink, and that was that. And then Keyshawn is like, you forgot the part where you bought his wife a drink first. And
Mm-hmm.
so ensues we have like a whole throwdown. And Keyshawn threatens to use. Did she threaten to use a Beretta? I can't remember what she. It
Yes.
was a Beretta, right? And she was like, a Beretta, just like your mother. That's why he not with her. And of course, she goes to her room, and her dad is now at the house, but we don't see him at any point come into her room, console her, comfort her, tell her it's okay, explain the situation furthermore, because all we get is bits and pieces of the fact that, he cheated on her mom or he left her mom for whatever the reasons is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was a very interesting part, because that is ideally what you would want to see happen. You would want to see a dad come in and protect his daughter. So the fact that it didn't happen, of course, obviously, while intentional, it was just like, damn, like I thought he would have been different. And then we roll into
Mm-hmm.
kind of seeing like why he's not. But that part of the episode for me was pivotal, pivotal, right? Because you see the shift, and we understand now why she felt so like, oh, you protected me, like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Because Derek is protecting her, and her dad isn't.
Exactly. That part really bothered me because you're thinking. Well, let me give it a whole breakdown because we're forgetting the point that we learned that Mississippi comes from money.
Mm-hmm.
We
She
didn't
does.
know that in season one. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So Mississippi comes from a stack already.
Mm-hmm.
um you would think by she living with her father and stepmother, she must be pretty close. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
To her dad. Her dad is comforting, and he has a better life to give her than what she would have with her mother. All these things are running in my mind. You don't know why she's living with her father and her stepmother, but you're hoping for the best, right? So to see what plays out where he's not coming to her aid, I couldn't really make out too much when you hear the parents arguing back and forth,
That's
but
it. Right.
it almost sounds as like he's not even defending her either
Yeah.
to the stepmother. And so then as it plays on to them getting ready for this ball, you know, granted, she might not be going to the dance, but hell, everybody is all family.
She
Why
should have
not
been
set the
there.
timer on the camera so we all could get in it? Instead of you treat me like the hired help to
Mm-hmm.
take pictures of you, basically you and your new family, because
Right.
there's no room for me in it. And then as we see, here comes the Butter Knight. I'm just going to refer to him as Butter,
Nah.
but
I
we
swear to you.
see we see the Butter Knight come through to take her to his ball.
The
And not
white
only
ball.
did he come, not the white ball, no shade. Not only do he come through, but he come through with the garments. He come through
Yeah.
with the bag. He come through with the shawl and the shoes to match. Like
Mm-hmm.
he set her up pretty sweet. So that father, like you said, we see why she latched on to Derek because Derek is protecting her where her own father won't even do it.
Right, but she also sees that her father ain't who she think he is either because she peeps the hand and the uncomfortableness from the stepsister. So that's
Mm-hmm.
how we really notice it because they make sure that she reacts to it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
And
Sheena.
so many men create single mothers to where and they neglect the children that they have with the moms of their previous relationships. So it was an authentic perception of what actually happens because I've seen people say, "Oh, well, my dad, he married another woman, he got some other kids, and he just don't act like we even exist."
Hmm.
And so it was really sad to see that, but it was an accurate depiction of like what actually happens and goes down. And like you said, I was disappointed to see that instead of him being more inclusive, he just further alienates
Mm-hmm.
Sippy by being like, "Oh yeah, let's have her take a picture of us," instead of you not even wondering why your daughter isn't going out to the dance or doesn't,
That part.
isn't interested. You just pretty much overlook her, and so it just seems like Mississippi was looking for somebody to pay attention to her, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, the Butter Knight was the one to do it.
Facts. And so of course, he shows up. She getting primped and ready and trying to suck it in and do a few sit ups. She look like me trying to get into an outfit. I'm just over here trying to figure it out. And so then of course, they go out and I like that they playing the song
Both
from the
sides.
black ball, but they show the white ball too. And it's like, yeah, y'all wish it was this crunk, but it's not. And of course they have that moment where they're about to kiss and his mom shows up and it's like nah, ain't about to do that. They go outside and he shares with her that yeah, that's my mom, and my mom, um she's all bark no bite, but
Mhm.
my dad is all bite,
We wish
basically.
his bark. We wish his bite was as his bark, or something
Right.
to that.
Yeah. So then she realizes that he is being abused by his dad. And so I think for me, that part I thought about, him being abused by his dad and the fact that he is so strong. But I feel like, his father has power over him, which is that power dynamic that people will talk about in therapy is where you're using your power as a form of abuse. So people don't usually defend themselves in situations like that because they feel like there are going to be severe repercussions. So obviously, most people will figure if you like really hit your parents, even if the parent is hitting you, that would cause severe reactions or repercussions for you later on down the road. Um, but they have this moment where it's snowing and it's in the third, um, and then we have a sex scene, right? Um, just the whole entirety, like the lead up from Derek sharing his story to the sex scene. Like, did you see that coming, or did you like what were your thoughts on that, Rashima?
Yeah, I kind of saw it coming. But he was scaring me at first when he was telling her to get in the car. I was like, all right, he's getting a little too forceful. And this sounds like the new Derek. Like, I don't know. Is he going to like drag her in the car or something? But he was like, yeah, you got to come on. And then I was like, okay. Now he started being a little bit more gentle when he saw that she was being playful with the snow and everything. But yeah, I kind of saw that coming. I knew that something was going to go down because I mean, where else was it going to go down? His mom was like breathing down his neck, and like I guess she was an administrator. Was
She
she
was like, I guess
She
the
or a
boss.
chaperone?
It,
she was on the board of
yeah.
the organization that throws the
Football.
ball.
Okay, yeah. So it's like I don't know where else they were going to have the time to kind of have those intimate moments. So I kind of figured that that was going to go down.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
I
go ahead.
agree. I agree. I agree.
I wasn't. I mean, I kind of suspected, but I was like, man, like it's so cliche, right? Like sex after prom or whatever it is, like some
Mm-hmm.
ball. Of course, and of course, we obviously know that Derek ain't look like he had no wallet, so it ain't look like he was using no condom, and she ain't look like she had no condom to her purse. So
But
that
what did he say? He said
he
I
said I'd never done this before.
Yep.
oh,
Yeah, he
okay.
was a virgin. The way she
That kind
looked,
of.
I
maybe
don't know why I thought he said I have a condom, but I guess
no.
that's
Nah, he's like this is my first or something like
Yeah,
that.
this is my first time.
But you know what though? I'm gonna take it a little bit and go with it, because I don't want to jump too far before we
Good.
miss a pivotal part. So after they share that moment, you see her sneaking in the house and everything like that, and you see she as she gets in the house, she's been startled by the presence of her stepmother sitting up, and I guess in this moment you think she's going to get in trouble. I know I did.
I did.
And her stepmother says, "Well, you beat Alicia and I forget the other sister's name.
I forget her too.
Um, you beat them home, so you're good or whatever like that." And then you can see, to me, it felt the moments of jealousy. Whereas, she mentions about, oh, you had this man come and he brought you a dress and the shoes and the all of this, you know, and that's um it kind of, to me, it kind of plays on how the stepmother's a trophy wife, but it also, she drops a little bit of a gem where she says, be careful, letting the man dress you up like a Barbie, because he can go out and buy another one when he's done with you. And I thought, for me in that aspect, I thought that was very monumental moment, because it almost sheds a light on the fact that how he got her stepmother, and how he's almost trading her stepmother in for her stepsister, as you can see with the advances he's trying to make on her the um with the feeling on her while they're taking a picture. But as we later see, she then gets pregnant by Derek, and we get that's when it really starts to show out, as far as their dynamic change, as far as him being more abusive and abrasive to her. So did you think it was going to change that quickly?
yeah. Um I did. I mean, because when she's pregnant, she's in such a vulnerable state. When you're pregnant, you're in such a vulnerable state. So I knew that because I'm familiar with his character before this episode, like maybe if I never knew who his character was, I would have given him the benefit of the doubt. But being as though I know who his character is, I knew right off the bat. But what I said was, woo, the racism jumped out. Okay. Because when he started going on, I should have never dealt with the likes of you. What else he say? You trapped me. I mean, he just was
Mm-hmm.
being racist. Like I was like this, like, and we can't believe he said what he said to Diamond. We can't believe it, but he is being so racist to her. And I just felt like, I felt like what a moment to realize that, you know, the man that you're about to have a child with is racist, I'm sorry, and abusive. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, you know what I mean? Could you imagine being pregnant, sitting there and getting choked out while somebody saying, I should have never slept with the likes of you? Like it sounded like we was on the plantation.
Yeah.
Like I had to make sure I wasn't watching the episode of Roots because I was just like, why is he saying this? Why is he saying this to her? Why is it like the way he was snuffing her out, and then fast forward when she knocks on her stepmom's door, and then her stepmom just slams the door in her face. Like I was just like, I just felt so bad for Keyshawn. Like I really did. Um,
So I think the whole scene, right, of but her coming in and the stepmom, I actually thought the opposite of you, Jamal, which was weird because I figured that well, not even the opposite. I think it was the same. I just in my head something had happened between her and the father, which could have been the whole hand on the waist thing or whatever, some sort of spat they had that she was up because she looked very like sad,
And
angry, what
stressed
have you.
out.
Yeah. And so her saying what she said to Keyshawn about not being a man's Barbie, I think she just, of course, when you're young, you don't get certain things until after the fact, right? And of course, then we fast forward, we have Keyshawn now pregnant. Derek, being disrespectful and racist and just everything all in one while she's pregnant on the couch with this baby. And you can see two hurt people thinking that feeling like they need each other. They're trying to be safe spaces for each other, but neither one of them, like, it's a toxic. The whole situation is toxic, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we know that hurt people, and these are both children essentially because they're still young who have
Mm-hmm.
been experienced abuse in different ways. Like Derek has been physically abused, whereas Keyshawn has been emotionally and verbal abused, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
at this point, neither one of them has felt love from the places where they feel like they should feel love. So when you feel like you're not getting love from people who are supposed to love you, you essentially are going to go outside looking for that space. And
Exactly.
so, of course, she shows up at the door. And one of the things that caught my attention was a conversation that she had with the stepmom, where she's like, "You made this choice. Now you have to deal with it." And the father is still nowhere to be found. Like whether he was there or not, we don't know. But she said, "Well, what does my dad say about it?" And she goes, "He agrees." That
Mm-hmm.
was such a hard like scene to watch because you can tell that she's genuinely hurt, heartbroken. She's genuinely in need. She genuinely needs love and safe space right now, and she can't even get that with her dad or the stepmother, as the stepdaughter looks on.
Mm-hmm.
and
She
I'm sorry, you want to go ahead?
I was just gonna say that was because it was just like how her stepmother was like, I can't have you here, being an example to my daughters. Pretty much saying she would influence them. Now knowing hell, her oldest daughter she the school thought everybody know about her. She thought and bopping all around. Everybody trying. That's why everybody trying to get a piece. That's why she been turning down everybody because everybody know what's good. But she like, nah, you know what I'm saying? If we gonna keep it a buck, call a spade a spade. But you know, you see Keyshawn like pleading with her stepmother, said, begging, and she was like, "I made a mistake." And as they're children at this point, they're still children, and you expect for children to make mistakes. We know plenty of people who were seeing moms and all that stuff. Anyway, it was so telling when her stepmother was like, "Now you ain't make a mistake. You made a choice. Now you got to deal with your choice. Go back home to your family." You know what I'm saying? Because now this is her family and
Yeah.
she got to deal with it. It's that tough love, but not from the source she would want it from.
Yeah, it's toxic tough love.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's not really tough love when you haven't really been showing her love and support all along.
That too.
And when she said that um you didn't make a mistake, you made a choice, it made me think about was she referring to like pro-choice? Are you saying, hey, we offered other options and you still decided that to go full term. So if you're going full term now, you can't be here. But what was interesting was she said that she can't have her daughter seeing it and that basically being an example for them. But what she failed to understand is with Keyshawn there or not, that's still an example to her daughters because they're teenagers. They're still going to keep in contact with Keyshawn. They're still going to try to figure out where she's at. They still know that she's pregnant. They still know that she got pregnant while she was in high school. Like there's still information that they are unpacking. Now, whether or not you decide to walk them through it like a stepmom, because the whole episode you haven't been being a mom or a stepmom, actually, because a mom wouldn't even be talking down on the stepdaughter in front of or to anyone, but especially in front of other children. You fought your stepdaughter because your stepdaughter was like, tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Hmm.
You are showing your daughters by your example that if this is the example that you're leading, this is not the example that you want them to see either. So it's interesting that you are the Barbie doll in this Barbie house, and you can't even take care of your Barbie kids. And he left you with his children, and he's nowhere to be found. He's neglectful, so that's abuse within itself as well. And so it was just, it was sad to see her, because in that moment, she could have taught her kids compassion. She could have taught her kids that making a mistake doesn't mean that you don't get grace.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But she didn't do that. She did the complete opposite. And in turn, taught her kids resentment, taught her kids a lot of negative attributes that I'm pretty sure that she wouldn't want them to learn about. And my thing is, if she would have taught Keyshawn a lot of values before this had occurred, and if she would have held those own values within herself, then maybe Keyshawn would have been on a different path. But your values were just as shallow as Keyshawn's are because Keyshawn is looking for her dad and other people. The guy who went to go get the Barbie doll, she's looking for another guy that picks up a Barbie doll. So it was really sad to see that moment. And I mean, just seeing her drenched in the rain and like knocking on the door and beating the door down, it was just like, it was heartbreaking, you know?
Yeah, they did a good job at pulling your emotions out in that scene because they wanted you to feel neglected, right?
Rejected.
Abandoned, rejected. Like you felt all of that, and I, of course, we know either from personal experience or friends, like people who have had kids while still in the high school and have had it rough. Like you get two options: you can either, abort, or you can keep the kid, and you ain't gonna
And
stay here.
sometimes that's not an option for, like some parents threaten their children. Like you got to have the kid because you made a mistake and now you got to live with it. Or, you know what I mean? Some children don't get the option.
Yeah, that's true too. I don't think nobody ever thinks about that. That you get
Yeah.
the only choice you have is to have the kid. But we see Derek do what most abusers do, right? They abuse you, and then they say sorry, and I'm
She,
sorry comes with a bunch of roses. First of all, I'm confused because it was really late. How he get all these roses in this room? That I don't even. Okay, they got a Safeway somewhere. Okay, um, so he does this grand gesture of roses all over the damn room floor. Nobody thought about that. I'm the only person that said where the hell all these roses come from at
I
late at night.
automatic, I automatically thought of convenience stores. I mean, convenience stores are open late. The grocery stores close at 10 o'clock. I can tell you that for a fact.
That's probably true. That
So
those some nice ass flowers, Jamal, coming from a goddamn convenience store. That's
you
all I'm
be,
saying.
but you be in the South. You gotta understand what they lack in one thing, they gonna have greats in others. So
Well, those roses were beautiful and amazing. And he comes in, he says her name, and he says, I'm sorry, and it'll never happen again while, holding her waist and the baby. And of course, I mean, it's not, I won't say that it's not genuine, but I will say that you can only apologize with change behavior.
That's a lot.
So the
Mm-hmm.
roses, the talk to me didn't mean much. But again, these are kids, right? Derek
Mm-hmm.
is a senior, which means he's 18. Keyshawn was a junior, which means she's probably 17. So
Mm-hmm.
still children. Um, and we fast forward a little bit, and I do want, before I do that real quick, I do want to say that I thought it was interesting, like you said, Jamal, that Keyshawn comes from money. The reason why they have the duplex that they have is because of Keyshawn's father. So while he's not there for her in the capacity that she wants him to be, I guess he did something. Like, and Keyshawn mentions that. She said, well, at least he did something. Like, your parents didn't do anything, and they're not even getting me the baby clothes that I asked for and the color that I asked for. So,
Mm-hmm.
all of that was just, it's a lot. It's triggering, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we're talking about Keyshawn, we have her essentially, I believe after this is when she comes home, right? She comes home, um,
Well,
and
we're back in present day, so we missing some things about the present day
yeah,
because
but we're just gonna do the full Keyshawn story, and then we'll go
okay.
back. So I just want to make sure that we're on the right track. But that is
Mm-hmm.
pretty much like where we go from there, right? Is that she they get into the argument. He threatens her. She comes back home, and then we kind of forward into other stuff. But then we forward into her, and she comes home, and Derek is asking
Mm-hmm.
questions about why she's home so early, and she's like, oh, Rome had to get some things figured out with the tour. Um, she's happy to see the babies, and then the oldest one won't stop crying, um, and he's getting ready for interviews. He's like giving her a hot dog for I ain't even gonna get to the hot dog, but anyway, he gives her a hot dog. The baby won't stop. The oldest one won't stop crying, and then she decides she's gonna take him to the doctor. They go to the doctor. They realize that his shoulder
His
was,
elbow.
his elbow was dislocated, and then they see the bruises on his back.
Okay, so are we skipping? We skipping?
Yes,
Yeah,
we're
yeah, yeah.
we're gonna
Okay,
yeah we're gonna go back. So we have this piece right here where Keyshawn realizes what's been happening in her absence. I was completely shocked. I even by the elbow being dislocated, all of it was completely thrown for a loop. But I think it was so necessary because it puts a different um element into the picture of abuse, because now it's not just about Keyshawn being abused, it's about child abuse as well. I don't want to say like how you felt, but just you can just take it from there, and how the scene just played out. um
I mean, yeah, I felt like Keyshawn was fleeing a new abusive situation to go back to the old one because it was familiar, and she was like, yeah, like I already know the monster that's back at home, so just send me back there. And then when she got there and she saw that her child was clearly traumatized, like something was going on. I knew something was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
had a feeling that he was doing something to the children because when she got in, he was on the floor. He had the covers over his head. He was kind of isolating himself. He wasn't happy to see her. He wasn't excited to see her. And so when she takes him, first of all, I thought it was interesting that she took him to the doctor, but then she was shocked to see that his back was bruised. And I was like, so she didn't really do a check before she left the house. She kind of just went straight to the doctor. And so I absolutely thought she was going to lose it because she already was fleeing in a new abusive situation that she thought was going to beat her up. And now she's coming back home to not only her abusive, partner, but her abusive baby father who is abusing their children. So I thought she was going to go in her bag and get a gun. But this time I thought she was going to use it. And so I was very shocked to see like that actually didn't take place. And I was very shocked because I thought she was gonna lose it for sure.
It I'm with you on what the expected reaction was to
Mm-hmm.
be. But when we first get there, I too thought that I too knew that something was wrong as soon as she came in, because her son was so much reclusive to himself. He wasn't interacting with the dad. With Derek, he wasn't excited to see Keyshawn, as Shima said. And even when she went to go touch him, he flinched. Reacted. He didn't want to be bothered. Anybody who's seen abuse and know abuse, whether it be in real life or in fiction, those are telltale signs when it comes to children. So,
Mm-hmm.
like Shima says, it just dawned on me. Why didn't she do a body search to see, well, are you hurt? Are you sick? Are you not feeling like what's wrong? Look them once over before going to the doctor. But I think it's Keyshawn staying true to her character, because we already know she's airy, so she doesn't always think. She doesn't always exercise common sense when it comes to certain things. So when she takes him to the doctor and then finds out that his elbows then has been dislocated while she's been away, and then to discover the bruises, I thought CPS was going to come in
I
and
thought
take
so
the
too.
child.
I thought so
I
too.
didn't know she was going to be able to bring him back home, and then to see her reaction. It was very much that Tyra Banks. I was rooting for you. We all were rooting for you, because she gave that almost in a sense
Yeah.
when she started to almost berate um Derek,
There.
when she was like,
Mm-hmm.
"You're not going to get the job." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's trying,
Yeah,
but we also see how she's trying to reason with him as well, because she's like, "You don't have to be your dad." You know what I'm saying? You don't have to inflict that same pain that was inflicted on you. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
these are our babies. You can beat me, but don't touch our kids. And it was at that point I thought, even when he first hit her, I thought she was at least going to boss up and have her Tina in the back of the limo with Ike, and punch his ass back. But we
Mm-hmm.
see that she cowers and retreats back to what she knows, to the point where Derek takes the iron. Hell, even at that point when he backed her up into that corner, I thought she was going to reach for it and
For a knife or something. Yeah.
knock him over the head with it. But we see him pick it up, and she says, "Anything but my face," and that's when it clicks for Derek. Chill out. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because at the end of the day, she the money maker of the house, and
Yeah.
that's her. That's her money maker, her face, her beauty, her essence. That's what's bringing it to us. But it's just hurt people, hurt people. That was the best example of it.
Yeah. It's
and
cringeworthy. I
and it
definitely.
and then it's just like it took 2 weeks for him to do that. Like that wasn't even a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
well, he's angry and he's abusive, so it's a hair trigger, as they would call it. But also, I thought the complete I I thought the same, but in a different format. I thought that she was gonna come in, use the opportunity of him going to a job interview, take
yeah.
her kid and leave. And I
Hmm.
felt that because you knew how confrontational he could get, how violent he could get, that you would take the opportunity to say like, enough is enough. My kids come first, and it's time for me to go. So I was interested. It was interesting to me that that didn't go the way that I thought it would, but at the same time, it's realistic because most times in abusive relationships, it takes you have to really want to leave in order for you to say like I'm fully done. Now that we've really kind of capped the flashbacks and the forwards, let's jump into Wody and Rome. So we see, there's a moment where go
Yeah,
ahead.
we kind of did. We didn't
Because
even.
we skip a moment. We skip
Yeah,
a moment.
One moment.
So we gotta. I think it's only we got it. It'll be only true to our fans that we touch on that moment that Wody and Mississippi had,
Yeah, that's what I
because we
was.
see.
Oh, that's what I
But
was going.
okay, 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 okay. My
that
bad. I'm
happened.
sorry. I'm sorry.
That
That's
happened
okay.
after. That happened after him and Rome. I mean, that happened after her and Rome had a situation.
Yeah, no, I was getting to that. Yeah, I was just talking about what Jamal was talking about, which is the moment that Mississippi has with Wody. Like you can tell that they are basically having like a sister brother moment. They have that little unspoken moment back at the
Like, you
room.
see this shit?
Yeah, like all these dudes fucking each other, and they say it without saying it. And I think it's interesting because that's kind of like a homage to Black culture, where we know that there are things that are unsaid just by looks, and you can tell like you see what I'm saying? Yeah, so you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean. So I love the dynamic that they're showing us between Mississippi and Wody. It's something that I think has been building throughout this season, but I think that here in this moment we really get to validate it and say like, okay, boom, like they really are close, even though we don't see too much of them to spending time together outside of the whole entire group. They still managed to like create this strong bond, which I think says a lot considering the dynamic. um we then have in this moment, this is where Lil Murder, Rome comes in, right? And Lil Murder says, oh, we gonna get ready, and we'll link up with Charlotte at the party. And he's like, nah, Slim, like this ain't for you. um Rome is an asshole, first of all, okay, but we see his character kind of take a turn for the worse, essentially, right? So after we have this, Keyshawn says she's gonna go get ready. She gets ready. She comes back down to Rome's room, and we have this moment where, unfortunately, one Keyshawn's wig line deal falls through. Right, that's number one. That falls through, and then he decides that, well, hey, I've got these super shoes, right? And she says, this is not what I wanted because this is a small group. Like this is small money because the what they call that.
The market is
There you
small
go.
for the consumerism.
Right, there you go. And so then, of course, we have his robe coming open, him essentially telling her, like, you owe me and you'll give it to these other dudes, but you won't give it to me. And he tries to rape Keyshawn. He tries to forcefully take sex from her. Um,
Um, the misogynoir jumped out of that situation. Very much so. I was very shocked. I was super shocked to see that. I mean, he gives her disappointing news, and then he tries to cushion it with the pleaser shoe line, and then it was just the whole vibe was very creepy. It was given sexual assault. It was given creep vibes. Like I just couldn't. It I it was scary because I felt like it's just very telling. You know what I mean? And it's just like just when I started to kind of like his character, because I started to like his character, but then I started to dislike it like within the last couple of episodes, especially when he just couldn't read the room like with Big
mhm.
T. And he was very like off his like, yeah, you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps type of mentality, and that mentality always blows my mind. So I was already irritated by his character, but when he says all that I've done for you, and I was just sitting there thinking, like, you mean all that y'all done for each other? Like, she's the product that you're selling. If you didn't have such a great product, you would not be this great of a salesman. People
Right.
would not want wig lines. People would not want shoe lines. Like, she is the star. And that's what you even told her, which is why you wanted to bring her on board. But the way
Mm-hmm.
that you're making her seem like she's not invaluable, you know what I'm saying? And like she just could be easily discarded was really, really, really telling. Um, and yeah, he tries to, like you say, he tries to rape her, and it's just, to me, this is very telling of like lived experiences, because you would have men, like I said, that's why I said the misogynoir jumped out, because you would have a lot of men that try to act like they're helping you, and then they turn around and they want something in return for it, or
Right.
they think just because you're in the line of sex work that they have access to you whenever they want to, and and to whatever capacity that they want to,
Right.
which to me is just like, it's so creepy to see that dynamic play out before my eyes, like on the big screen, because I'm like, this is true life. You would literally have people sitting there acting like they're going to give you a hand, and they actually want a hand job. Like, it's, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's really just, it goes
Yeah.
left. So
Yeah, it's
I
unfortunate.
was creeped out by that whole situation, and I was sitting there praying. I was like, please get away. You know what I mean? Please get away.
Mhm.
Please don't let the door that she knocks on slam in her face like her stepmother slammed in her face that time. Like, I was just sitting there like, oh my God, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I unfortunately saw this coming. I've always seen that little twinkle of a bitch in Rome eyes. I
Mhm.
seen that creep in him because he always just smiled a little too hard when he came to her. He always had his eyes just a little too wide, too bright, too. He was so passionate when it came to her that he put everything else to the side. Like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. You know, we can work that out. We can work that out. But it was always a focus on her. And don't get me wrong, I understand as a manager, you want to put that, you want to deliver that burden of I mean, not burden, but you want to deliver that exceptional hype to sell who you're pushing. But at the same time, in their one-on-one interactions, it always was like, he's just doing a little too much just to be a manager. Like, you know what's going on, and for you to be cool with her girl, with her
Her
dude,
boyfriend, yeah.
I mean, but you know, dudes ain't, you
Yeah.
know what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
like I said, I saw it coming. I saw it calculated. I may have done some slick move, something like he did with the road. However, I did not put myself onto someone. I just gave them the prize and let them do what
Flash.
to do with it later. Oh no, baby, it was no flash. It was, this is what it is.
Lord have
What you
mercy.
gonna do with it? But anyway, I saw that coming, and as a man that comes from that it is triggering to me because it made me scared because I have nieces. I have a niece that reminds me so much of Mississippi, both both how beautiful she is and how ditzy she can be at sometimes. God forgive me, but that's my baby. But ah, this is a different time. But
Yeah.
the idea of how men can be so manipulative, and as you can, knowing Keyshawn's character, all she has been is manipulated by men.
Right.
The forcefulness of him putting himself onto her so aggressively, I knew where it was going. I was so happy that she was able to get away, and I knew that she was going to the room. I thought she was going. I thought all of them was going to be in there, and then they was going to get Rome,
Right. Right.
right
Yeah.
there. But to see her burst in there and it be Wody, and you know there's a moment before that where he's joking with her, telling her he doesn't like her wig and how he thinks she's beautiful without it. You know, it's softening. You really see how their relationship plays out. But then when he's there to her rescue, you know what I'm saying? I don't think we've ever seen a moment where Wody kind of looks or talks or treats these women as a sexual object. Like, if anything, he has the utmost respect for her, and I
Yeah.
think that's something that's very reassuring um, for her character because she knows she has someone she could trust other than Lil Murder because of the connection her and Lil Murder has because she knows his business and
Right.
whatever, whatever.
Right.
But it was just the way things turned. I knew it was coming. I
Yeah.
knew it was coming.
I mean, I think that, I've definitely been in situations before where it may not have been a robe. It might have been like a physical brush, or,
Hmm.
or a whole, just a whole dick out. Like the whole, like you're in your you sitting down on the couch. 1 minute you're good, the next minute your dick is in your hand, and it's like, wow, like that's what we doing. Like that's crazy to me. Like so we have to have this type of conversation now. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, in the midst of everything that's happening with Roman, Mississippi, he shows her the video, Little Murder and Big Teak. So now
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi is well aware of what's going on. She makes it to the room. Wodie's the only one there. She tells him what's going on, and he's like, he did what? I love that pause. I don't know if you paid attention to it in that scene, but he says he did what? He did what? Right? Because he
Mm-hmm.
reiterated, like, nah, this, you know what I'm saying? Okay. And we see him, basically the next scene is Wody going up to the rooms, the whole orgy. First of all, Wody's just cool as a cucumber. Like,
He's
he's just
so
so
smooth.
smooth with it. He comes up there, he ain't even paying attention to the orgy happening. He's like, yo, Ron, let me holler at you for a minute. He goes in, says, "Hey, I got a little something for you." He says, "This pure?" It's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." They go ahead, Rome slices it up. Wodie's eyeballing it, so Rome is like, "Go ahead, you take a bump first." He's like, "Oh, all right." He's real slick, Wodie covers it, and then he takes the third line, which is not the first two, because the first two was what he just gave Rome. And we see Rome take the first. Um, and he's talking and running his mouth, doing his usual shit. And Wally like, how we gonna do this tour without Keyshawn, man? He's like, man, I'll just get another one of her. And then he's like, what's going on with Lil Murder? He's like, don't nobody know Lil Murder. Like, I could just
Mm-hmm.
get one of my other artists. And Wally's just chilling, just keeping it cool. And then Rome hits that second line, and it really starts to hit him where he's like, damn, like this shit
Mm-hmm.
really hitting me. Like, okay. And I didn't I knew something was up, but I didn't know what was up for real, for real. And as we wrap up this episode, this part is like the icing on the cake for me for this episode, because I loved every bit of the detail that they did. You know, you see Wody having this conversation with Rome about, like, what did he say again?
Have you ever seen somebody die?
Right. And then he goes, yeah, man, I saw my mother die. And then he said, was it how would you like to be buried or how would you like to die? I think it might have been how would you like
No,
to be
it's how you
buried.
like be buried. Mm-hmm.
That whole conversation, the dynamic in which it just went down was like amazing to me. Like, I'm gonna just go ahead and throw it to you though. Like, what were your thoughts, Jamal?
Yo, Wody, I want to be his friend. I want him by my side. I want to, that's my man. Like, yeah, he's that silent killer. He's that silent threat you never knew what was up. Um, as you said earlier, he's so smooth. He has such a finesse to it, and it was really a mind fuck, excuse my language, to how the whole thing went down, because he's having this conversation with him. And when he asked him, how would you like to be buried? He was like, would you like to be how the boy who hung him, I think it was like somebody who hung
I
themselves,
think
and then
he was just
somebody
shot in
that
the
was shot in the
face. Yeah.
face,
At least there'll be
or
an
the woman,
open
you know what
cat.
I'm saying? Would you want an open casket, a closed casket? And let's not forget the cinematography, how that all played out. Because as you could tell, as you can see, Rome being so affected, you know what I'm saying? He's having blurry visions, he can't breathe,
Mm-hmm.
he can't see straight. You see that, blurriness going on as he's trying to concentrate on what Rome is saying. And that's when it breaks down. He was like, Keyshawn told me everything, and I do mean everything. And he
Mm-hmm.
was like, so where's that little video you got? He was like, where that phone at? Where that video you got? And that's when he confesses that, you know, he shows the bottle of fentanyl. Fentanyl being so ridiculously,
Potent.
thank you. That's what I was searching for. I was about to say fatal, but potent as it is. You know, the fact that Rome broke it down, took not one but two lines of it, is like, well, I'm still questioning how Wody ain't get a little woozy after what we know just a little bit of contact with it can do. But anyway, I loved how that scene went down, because at the end of it, when we see Rome come to his demise, Bodhi gets up and he's walking out the room, and you see everybody rushing into the room like, "What happened? What happened?" But Bodhi is almost walking in slow motion with so much
Mm-hmm.
ease, with no hesitation, no nerves or anything of that nature.
Right.
And it also shows his character and how loyal he is, because this is a family unit that they have created. Him, Murder, Keyshawn, Teak. Rome was the outsider.
Right.
Everybody else, they was the collective. So it was like, I'm always gonna hold mine down no matter what, by any means necessary. And you was a liability, and I had to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I love how that part played out. He had it coming.
He definitely did. Shima.
Yeah, Waddy.
Wody.
He basically is the white knight as well. You know what I mean? Like he he is Keyshawn's it like this whole episode, White Knight, I think represented the different knights in Keyshawn's over her span of her life. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying? And you get to kind of see the real from the fake because um who knows how Keyshawn was expecting um Morty to react in that moment. And what is so amazing about Woody's character is that she probably still has no idea that he was the one that
Mm-hmm.
we won't see that until next episode. I don't know. But the way his character is, I feel like he's kind of like this silent charmer, like the
Mm-hmm.
White Knights that you, because White Knights, when I think of like a Game of Thrones or something like that, I just see something that's silent, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
you can't really see. It's like almost like a ghostly spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see if it's revealed to Keyshawn that he, you know, has something to do with the fatal demise of Rome. But Rome had it coming. Like he's been, if it wasn't going to be T and it wasn't going to be Little Murder, then it was going to be somebody else. And I think it just happened to be Morty because he was tired, he was fed up, and
Mm-hmm.
he was over it.
Right. So just to wrap up, what are your ultimate thoughts on this episode, Shima?
This was like one of my favorite episodes. This and the episode before this one. Um, and I just feel like we got a lot more background into Mississippi and her journey through her life, but then we also got some backstory into the different characters like Derek and you know her whole family dynamic, and I just feel like it gave us a lot more insight into the reasons why she may have chose to even start dancing, because if she had the support system from her family, maybe then she would have chose a different path
Oh yeah.
on her way of just becoming a mom and trying to survive, and also maybe she wouldn't have been stuck inside of that abusive relationship. But I enjoyed this episode. I'm glad I got a chance to see the different dynamics, and I'm also glad that we don't have to deal with Rome for the next. Like I don't. I was like, I'm so glad they didn't make us wait for Rome to die because after we already waiting on Derek to die.
Damn.
So I don't want to wait on Rome to die. Something we got to shake things up. So I'm glad that's how it went down, and I love Woody's loyalty, and I like the fact that he's not the in the way that he's handling himself. I can tell that he's not homophobic. You get what I'm saying? He's not phobic to the point of he despises Little Murder, kind of like how Rome is expressing that he does. So I enjoyed this episode.
Well,
To me, I do appreciate it, because at first it was like losing me. At first I was like, what is this fairy tale shit we're looking at? When in the beginning, when we first started having the flashbacks, I'm like, okay, what is going on? Why is she
yeah.
showing me Wonder Bread so early? First of all, people watching all of our review, I mean all of our watchers, please know
Yeah.
these are just jokes. These are
Right.
just jokes. You know, if I
Yeah,
could
these are
get me, if I could get me my buttered colored Adonis, that's woke. That's woke. Okay.
Oh goodness.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm an equal opportunity lover. I'm just going to say that now.
Equal opportunity.
But I appreciated the breakdown because it does give us something to think about. It does answer some of the questions that we had, and it validates some of our assumptions that we had of the characters. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
As far as why she is the way she is, why their dynamic is the way that it is. Um, I love. I honestly, this season so far is showing me, not that last season did not, but it's showing me the sense of how much the sense of family and unification of family is displayed amongst them in their different sets. You know what I'm saying? And one thing we're trying to do is not break up the black family, no matter what you make your family. To touch on what Shima said about him being homophobic and things like that, and how he's not, and how he's okay with it. I love that aspect of it as well, because even if murder isn't okay with being his living his true self and his sexuality, he's not passing judgment and he's not questioning him. You know what I'm saying? He might make his little jokes here and there, as we saw in last episode. Or well, if
Oh,
not the
in this
last episode,
episode,
the
he was
previous
like,
one, yeah, where he was like, you know, we should go to the pink. He was like, who the fuck, you know?
yeah.
That look, it's funny towards that, and even with the jokes with the talking with the eyes, like, oh man, I think these niggas fucking. You
Hmm.
know, that whole situation is
Or,
hilarious
yeah.
because I had that relationship with my friends. I have majority heterosexual male friends, and we shoot the shit just like it is what it
tomato,
is.
tomato, tomato. Sorry.
Yeah, but you know, but it's like, but it's very much like that because at the end of the day, it's not a simple fact of me being gay. It's still I'm their man's. We
Right.
still talk like it, you know what I'm saying. Me being gay, that's just only if I bring a nigga around.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, I'm getting too comfortable. If I bring somebody around or not, but you know what I'm saying. That's just how it is. But I'm looking forward to what's to go forward as far as expanding Wodie's character. And can I mention too? Did you peep how right before Rome fell down, how they're playing that game kill, and you know when they blinked at each
Yeah,
other, and
and
how he gave him that blink at the end, and he just fell out. I was like, damn, that's
yeah,
gangster. Like,
no, but then he winked at the screen and he winked at us, and I was like, not over here. You know what I'm saying?
nah, but you
I was
know,
like,
I mean, but you know, it was on that
this is on point.
that eye view of Rome, not so much as us. But that's
No, they
whoever
did
I
it again. They did it again at the end, like when he
oh
was
with the captions.
Walking
Yeah,
out.
yeah, 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 yeah,
when he
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
walking
yeah.
out.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you, Katori Hall, Patrick Ian Polk, all the people behind the scenes that got the
Yeah.
directors and the cinema, you know, the videographers, y'all are killing it. Keep doing it. Stand on their neck, because as y'all can see, episode 4 got the people talking. And hell, I can't wait to see. I'm telling you, I'm waiting to see Teak and Clifford meet each other.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. I hope it happens.
I
I
know you are
hope
hoping
it
it
happens.
happens. I mean, this episode, just like our last episode, was just so heavy. Obviously, you can see because we're almost 2 hours into this review. We wanted to give y'all something special. You get to see different faces this time around because it was just that heavy. But overall, the episode, again, like you mentioned, Katoria Hall, this is the whole season's has been fire, man. The way that they've been blending things in, the way you can follow the storyline, the way you feel like you're getting to know these characters individually, you get to understand them better. Um, I love the way Wody is basically a brother. Like he's a brother you would want, you know, somebody who's gonna love you no matter what or who or whatever, you know. And so he's been authentic the whole entire time. We've never seen him change from who he's been since we started in season 1. And I love that he loves Keyshawn and Lil Murder for just who they are, that he supports them and he really looks out for them because you've seen him looking out when Rome, I guess that last episode when Rome and Keyshawn were outside after she was sending
Yeah.
Jason home. So
Mm-hmm.
just the fun moments that they had interjected into the episode, because it was a very heavy episode. So whenever you're dealing with any form of abuse, it's going to be taxing on you, just even as a viewer. So I love this episode. I can't wait to see the rest of the season. I feel like I'm on edge, and we saw some of the comments. People are really, really loving us and just really loving the season. So thank you so much. Feel free to always leave your comments and your thoughts, and you can catch us right after the episode drops. And so until next time, check out Big Go Bell Media, and you'll see us back here next week. Peace, y'all.
That at the pink.
At the pink.